what we know to be the case is here I am at 72 with my testosterone levels. My baseline is 50% higher than when I was a young guy. Okay, this is just the lifestyle that I've developed. A list. I work, I get rewarded for my work, I discipline myself, I have love in my heart. Here's an example for everybody to learn. If you want to be a powerful, successful man, develop your full potential. If you're a man, whenever you're angry, that means your testosterone is going down, your estrogen's going up.
Wow.
See, everybody thinks that, anger and aggression in men is high testosterone. No. If you measure the hormones in a man when he's experiencing aggression, and assertiveness is one thing. Assertiveness is kind of like aggression, but with an awareness of consequences. Aggression is, I'm just thinking of me and not thinking of you at all. I want to control you. I'm going to change you, push, no consideration of the other person or the situation. That's aggression. When a man has aggression, you see what his hormones are doing. That's called fight or flight, fighting or running away from responsibility. His estrogen levels will be high. His testosterone is going down. Estrogen is the female hormone. Women need to make 10 times more. They need 20 times more than a man to have an orgasm. Okay, so this is like their happiness goes up as their estrogen goes up. For us, as our testosterone goes up, our happiness goes up, our motivation goes up. We have something called detachment. Now, testosterone, really high testosterone, is detached. Now, it may not be aware, but when you're detached, it doesn't mean you're indifferent. See, most people think detachment is indifference because you can be detached. You can have high testosterone and no estrogen. See, no feminine feelings, but just pure analytical thinking, goal setting, logic. It's like Spock on, in those TV shows. He was always just logical. He had no emotion, no feeling, whatever. Okay. The emotion and feeling is the estrogen. So whether you're feeling positive emotions or negative emotions, doesn't matter. That's estrogen. Now, when you're a man, if your testosterone is low and your estrogen goes up, it's always negative emotions. It's fight or flight. Fear, anger, despair, shame. All of that is estrogen going up, testosterone going down. Now, talking about your feelings will always raise your estrogen more. So men should not talk about their feelings.
So is there a way that men should talk about their feelings obviously not to their partner, be one?
Okay, there's two. Thanks for bringing that up. I just had to let that settle in because everything is men. You need to talk about your feelings. You can talk about what you think. See, that's your whole inner world. What do you think? Any feeling you have is based to a thought. Talk about what you think and testosterone goes up. Talk about what you feel, estrogen goes up. So that's one. Two, always talk about what you feel if your feelings are positive. Because you only have positive feelings when your testosterone is high. If you have negative feeling, don't talk about it. Then there's another dynamic where you can be light about it. You can talk about, you make jokes about it. Okay, this is what guys will do. It's like, oh God, I hate that, blah, 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 blah. So angry about that. It's ridiculous. They're so stupid. You're venting, but you're not doing it to change someone. And you hit it right on the. If I use negative emotion to change somebody, I will only become not only stuck in my negative emotion until that person changes. See, if we use negativity to get what we want, then if we don't get what we want, we have to keep feeling negative. And then when you use negativity to get what you want, you're actually growing pathways in your brain. This is the plastic brain that we have now. The brain can change. It changes based upon what you do, how you use your brain. If you suddenly start learning a new pattern of playing the piano, you'll grow pathways in your brain. They know that. Well, if you use negative emotion to get what you want, then to get what you want, your brain has to have more negative emotion. So some people are just plagued by always having a negative point of view. They're just using that one part of their brain rather than look at your negative emotions and then let them go and do something about it. That's for men. Okay. It's for women. It's a little different. Their whole thing is talk about it for a while. Their estrogen levels will go higher. Then their stress will go down. And then when their stress goes down, that's when all their problems seem to get smaller.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Unlocked from Within. Today's guest, we have John Gray. He is the best-selling author of the most well-known and trusted relationship book of all time, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. US Today listed his book as one of the top 10 most influential books of the last quarter century in hardcover. It was the #1 best-selling book of the 1990s. Dr. Gray's books are translated into approximately 45 languages in more than 100 countries and continues to be a global bestseller. Dr. Gray has written over 20 books. His most recent book is Beyond Mars and Venus. His Mars-Venus book series has forever changed the way men and women view their relationships. John helps men and women better understand and respect their differences in both personal and professional relationships. His approach combines specific communication techniques with healthy, nutritional choices that create the brain and body chemistry for lasting health, happiness, and romance. His many books, blogs, and free online workshops at marsvenus.com provide practical insights to improve relationships at all stages of life and love. An advocate of health and optimal brain function, he also provides natural solutions for overcoming depression, anxiety, and stress to support increased energy, libido, hormonal balance, and better sleep. He has appeared repeatedly on Oprah, as well as on the Dr. Oz show, Today, CBS This Morning, Good Morning America, and many other shows. He has been profiled in Time, Forbes, US Today, and People. He was also the subject of a 3-hour special hosted by Barbara Walters. John Gray lives in Northern California, where for 34 years he happily shared his life with his beautiful wife, Bonnie, until her passing in 2018. They have 3 grown daughters and 4 grandchildren. He is an avid follower of his health and relationship advice. Please welcome John Gray to Unlocked from Within. Hey, John, welcome to Unlocked from Within.
Happy to be with you.
Thanks, John. It's such an honor to have you on the show and to delve into your best-selling book Beyond Mars and Venus. How I stumbled across you was, I think I was about 10 years old. I'm 38 now. I think I was about 10 years old, and I saw the cover of your original book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and it was sitting there in mum and dad's bedroom, and I didn't know anything about it at that point in time.
Yeah, I hear that story all the time. I feel older.
Yeah, and so for the audience, on Unlocked from Within, I'd like to really delve into, basically Beyond Mars and Venus. I've listened to the audio version of it, and I'm finding it, it's got so much value and practical tips that you can apply. I just recently had some friends, a close friend, go through a bit of a relationship going upside down and the challenges coming from it. And I passed on that book to him, Beyond Mars and Venus, and he's gotten so much out of it. I think he read it about 6 or 7 weeks ago. And just seeing the difference in him, it's been amazing.
It's life-changing. I get life-changing book. I get comments from this all the time. Just those information. There's 2 types of personal growth. One is making changes within yourself, and I'm all about that. But there's another form of personal growth is simply being informed of reality. For example, I'm looking in my office. I have a door right over there, and I have a door to my right. And if I was to try to get out of my office going to the door on my right, it would take 10 minutes longer. But I can go here and it's right away. So imagine all your life, you're going through this door to the right. Nobody told you there's a door in front of you. You don't have to change yourself. You just need a little extra information that nobody taught you or didn't point out to you. And you kind of go, well, I can do that easy. So that's a part of what Men Are From Mars and Beyond Mars and Venus is about. It's just pointing us in the right direction if we're going in the wrong direction. Then there's the other part of my work, which I also know is very valuable, which is developing your inner potential. And a lot of what you teach and share on your podcast is processes and attitudes that we can actually access within ourselves an inner potential. So that takes some work.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
doesn't take a lot of work to just know that, oh, I was going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, yeah. And so yeah, like can you tell us a little bit about your background and how it all came about, basically?
Well, one thing, I grew up in a family of 6 boys, 1 girl. So I didn't really understand girls at all, but I understood boys. And then I became a monk and lived with men
Wow.
9 years as a celibate. I was pretty frisky as a teenager. I liked the girls and all that. But then the Beatles, this is my generation, the Beatles had gone to India to study with a guru there. And the Beatles said, you can get high. We're all trying to get high then, uh, without crashing down. So I went to one of those Woodstock events and got really high for 3 days and really crashed down. And then somebody told me about the Beatles had gone to India. They learned to meditate. They get high. They don't have to crash. So I took a course in transcendental meditation. I was enamored by it. I got home late that night. My dad said, "Why are you late?" And I said, "I went to this talk." He didn't believe me. So he said, "Tell me what you heard." I gave the whole talk. It was like that talk was already written in my heart. It was so inspiring to me. I don't know if I could give exactly the talk now, but that was 50 years ago. But for a good 25 years, I could have given that talk. It just like resonated with me. You know, when something
Mm.
resonates, yes, it sticks with you. And so that was an inspiration. And, for me to become who I am, I had a great mentor. I didn't, I had a great dad, and he wasn't always there. And my mother thought, well, if the father, he traveled a lot. So if the father's not there, I want to make sure he has different father mentors. And so I was, at a young age, she had me taking karate classes, and I became in front of karate magazines. I was really into my karate. And then she, at about 12 years old, see, I was really little and young, so it was a phenomenon that I could do all this advanced karate stuff. And then I did, she said, "Oh, I have a surprise for you." I said, "Oh, okay, what is it?" And we went, and she got me a paper route, delivering newspapers, and they said I was too young. And so my mother said, "Well, then she'll sign up." So she signed up, but the paper route was mine. And over 4 or 5 years, I grew it into the biggest paper route in Houston, Texas. I had kids working for me. I had someone driving the car. He's in the back doing this. So I was like a little entrepreneur. It was real
Mm.
natural. And then I saw this Maharishi guy. I wanted to be high. The guy worked all the time. I mean, he had a good time. And that was what inspired me, is can you work hard, be successful, and feel positive along the way? And so he was a great mentor for me. And he was also, for those that haven't heard of transcendental meditation, back in the 70s and 80s and 90s, it was the big. I mean, we had centers in 3,600 centers around the world. And I taught his 10,000 teachers of transcendental meditation and helped develop a course with him to teach people. So I was his right-hand guy. And that was amazing to be with somebody. I just resonated with that. I realized it just the other day. I was talking to my wife, and she grew up in a very poor environment. Now, I was married to my wife, Bonnie, for 32 years, and she passed on with cancer 5 years ago. So after 2 years of grieving, I got married again, very happily married. And she's from another country, China, and she's telling me about how poor they were there. And so she's always worried about finances, right? And she said to me, "I'm not like you. You grew up in a family where you never thought about money." And I did. See, I grew up in a family where my parents were well-to-do, and you didn't know it. We lived in the nicest neighborhood in Houston, Texas, but we had the smallest house. So I thought we were poor people. So I never had this idea. My parents were very frugal, and yet my dad had a good job and they had good money. He was in the oil business in Texas. But so I never thought that much about money scarcity. It was just always available. And my mother was an example of a principle that stayed with me my whole life, and that you always have what you need. And if you think you don't, you're looking in the wrong direction. And that's a big, big idea for me. The idea, take it in spiritual terms, is grace. Everything that happens to you is there to serve and support you. And if it's causing you suffering, it's there for you to feel the pain of thinking. If some part of your thinking is in the wrong direction, you need to self-correct. You need to do better. But you have to look at that. And what makes us look at is when we suffer and we feel some pain. And if you just keep blaming the world, then you just keep blaming the world. If you look at, okay, how can I make a change within myself? How can I get the support I need? And that's the idea, is that we can't do it alone. We have to different kinds of support. And I wrote one book, which is called it's called How to Get What You Want and Want What You Have. And I just want to share a little bit of that, but it was the recognition that work is one part of our life, but also happiness and fun is another part. If you're too serious, it becomes too suffering. So you've got to balance your hard work with time for rest and recuperation and recreation. That's a big thing. Then we also need to have education. We need to always be educating ourselves. I mean, I spend at least an hour to 2 hours a day still either reading books or watching people's YouTube talks who are educators. I always want to educate myself. If you want to stay young and healthy and vibrant, which maybe not your issue right now, but maybe for a few, I'm 72 years old and I have the testosterone levels 50% higher than when I was a young guy.
Okay, you mention it, and I find it fascinating because I'm 30, just turned 38, and I'm finding the difference between when I was in my from 15 to 30, you feel bulletproof, and now I feel like I'm managing more. Like I know I've got to the daily habits. I've got to go for a jog or a run, exercise, go to the gym, and if I don't do that, if I lay on the couch, laying down at 7 o'clock at night, I can just completely knock off, fall asleep and not wake up. And so I noticed, I've had to do a switch with, I'm going to gym to be healthy. Now it's more, I'm going to gym or I'm going to exercise to have more energy or create and generate more energy.
Yeah, you generate energy that way. So work, play, education. Another one is having mentors. Very, very important that you need to be surrounded at least by somebody who knows more than you about something that's meaningful to you. You have to have that. You said, that's what I had with Maharishi. He was a world teacher. Now, I'm a world teacher. I've got over 50 million books in 40 different languages in 20 different countries, or, all over the place. Okay. So that's a world teacher. Now, I never thought of myself, I'd ever be a world teacher, but he was, and we didn't have YouTube and we didn't have all that. I mean, it would just spread around the world. Part of me was inspired by him because he was in me. See, and that these people often say to me, how do you find yourself? A reflection of who you're going to be. Who inspires you? What some quality there inspires you. And he was the inspiration that I got from him. I couldn't put a label. I just know I wanted to be like him. I wanted to be like him. He inspired me. He motivated me. And a lot of what you're just talking about in terms of working out and so forth, that's one form of discipline. There's so many different kinds of discipline, but for men particularly, discipline is very, very important. Like, for example, right now, I was just on a vacation with my wife, had lots of sex, lots of meals, some ice cream, the whole thing. I had this big belly just in 3 days. So I'm fasting. I'll fast for 3 days. I'm just on a water fast. I'll be on that for 3 days. And I'll get my belly flat again, because one of the challenges for men is that as we mature, okay, it's a natural maturing process for men to have more estrogen. Estrogen is the female hormone. Women need 10 to 20 times more of it. And as we get older, our estrogen levels naturally rise. What that means is we begin to integrate more of the feminine qualities of love, happiness, connection, relationship. That becomes more important to us as we age. And we'll call that wisdom. So the idea is, with life experience, men gain wisdom. The younger guy figures, okay, if I can just make money, I'll be happy. Then you make money and you realize you're alone. Why am I depressed? Why am I taking drugs? Because you're not also in relationship strengthening estrogen. So we have these two basic hormone systems. We call it Mars hormones, Venus hormones, since I do men are from Mars, right? So Mars hormones, particularly is testosterone. If a man is in his positive state. Like right now, you're in your positive state. I'm in my positive state of well-being. We're doing something that we're good at. Our testosterone levels go up when we do that. If we're not good at what we do and we judge ourselves as not enough, our society judges us as not enough, we get no reassurance that we're good enough, our testosterone goes down. So, we have ways of dealing with that. You can have your favorite soccer team. Okay. When they're winning, you feel great. You're part of the team. Okay. So you can, there's a lot of different ways to get your testosterone up. There's another way, which is not productive, is porn. Porn is a fantasy. It's not reality raising your testosterone. It's a fantasy that all these women want you. See, when a woman wants you, it's a big testosterone boost. Okay, big boost. But porn is the fantasy. Your subconscious mind doesn't know that they're all just fake. It's all fake. So your testosterone levels go up higher than they could go up with a real woman even. Okay, so it's massive dopamine gets produced. Your brain actually thinks you're a king and you have a harem of 65,000 women.
Wow.
Okay? That's what goes on inside your brain. So this dopamine level shoots up, testosterone goes up. And anytime there's a challenge, if you have a challenge, that produces dopamine and your testosterone gives you the energy to pull through. So men, we need, just to be happy, to make 10 times more testosterone than a woman. And we need to make 20 times more in order to feel like madly in love with a woman and committed to her. Okay, that's the commitment, consistency, discipline. When you're doing discipline, by the way, your testosterone goes up. When you're fasting, for example, that's a discipline. The research shows your testosterone goes up 100%, 4 times higher, okay, for that period of time. And you want to keep the plumbing working, so to speak. It's not going to stay there. But when you're doing a discipline, you get a surge of testosterone in a healthy way. Or no discipline, go online and do porn. And porn is just high stimulated masturbation. I'm sure you have a lot of young men listening to you. So I want to just talk about the number one reducer of testosterone is masturbation.
Wow.
And we're addicted to it. And they're trying to even say it's loving yourself and all that. Every culture throughout history has always discouraged masturbation because it's addictive. When you have sex with someone you love, it's not addictive. You make another hormone called prolactin. So when I make love with my wife, I make prolactin and it frees me from having to go online and be productive, look for another woman. See, the idea is nature puts in us, if you have sex and you ejaculate with somebody that doesn't love you, you're going to be horny to find another woman. See, it's giving you the motivation to keep finding another woman so that you can be part of evolution and make a baby. So here's a woman who doesn't love you, fake. Your body basically ends up, testosterone crashes, and then you need another woman, another new experience to raise your testosterone. So that's one cycle to get you out there to be horny enough to try to win a woman over. So that's natural. But when you win a woman over, then she's going to be producing a lot of estrogen. Okay, she feels I can depend on you. I feel safe with you. I want to make a baby with you. These are just hormones. The hormones of making a baby is double. When a woman's estrogen levels double and you have sex with her, when she doubles, then your body will make another hormone called prolactin and free you from your addiction to ejaculation.
Wow.
This is so interesting. So when you masturbate, you basically, your testosterone crashes afterwards. And you really do. You feel like shit. And while you're doing it, you don't. But afterwards, you feel bad. And then everybody tells you, well, I only feel bad because everybody tells me I did something bad. No, when you do something not good for you, you feel bad afterwards. If I just lost $1 million doing a stupid thing, I'm going to feel bad. It's good to feel bad when you do something stupid. And it's not, oh, nobody loves me if I just lost $1 million. Okay, no. It's like I was on this little vacation and my wife ate too much. She felt bad afterwards. I said, okay, feel bad. And now we forgive ourselves and move on. But it's not like because society says you shouldn't eat. You just don't feel good when you don't do something that makes you feel healthy and aligned with your spirit and your motivation and your purpose and be healthy. There's realities of why we feel what we feel. And whenever we blame the outer world for what we feel, we can't transform and become better. We have to take responsibility. Now, yeah, somebody punches me, I'm going to bruise, but I can't walk around, complaining about that person being in fear. Otherwise, the bruise doesn't heal. But people can affect you, but then you have to come back finding forgiveness for them, taking responsibility. I remember when I got my first big Mercedes, after my books took off, I got a big fancy Mercedes car, parked it in my town. And within 2 weeks, somebody took a key and pulled it all the way across the car. They were just jealous of me. I sold the car. I said, this is ridiculous. I don't need to show off. Otherwise, I get jealous of you and it's not that safe. So what do I need to show off? I got a nicer car.
Yeah.
I do have a car that I drive sometimes. Okay. But I don't park.
Yeah.
My Bentley. I have a Bentley convertible. It's a show off. It's fun. But I have my functional car that I drive. Is my Tesla. That's a nice little car. Nobody's going to scratch you with that one. So coming back to being a guy, being successful, being powerful, power comes when you say you're going to do something and you follow through. You want to feel personal power. People trust people with personal power. I put my books up there. That's my personal power. First of all, not only that changed the world, but to write those books is hard work. You say you're going to do it, you deliver it on time. It just gives you so much power when you're committed to following through on setting your goals, practical things that you can do. It's always to get in touch with what you want the future to look like. But that's not actually setting a goal. Today, I'm going to do this, or next 3 months, I'm committed to this. Things within your power, following through. Because what biologically does that do? When you set a goal, testosterone goes up if you take action. If you don't take action, testosterone goes down and you feel awful. So when you're feeling awful, usually it's because you're procrastinating from doing what you need to do to achieve your goal. So I've learned part of my wisdom is I don't say I'm going to do something unless I'm ready I have to do it. Okay. So I don't always say, people say, well, will you do this? I'll think about it. That's not going to make testosterone. It's not going to lower my testosterone. There's got to be things I say, I'm going to do this, and I follow through and I do that. It's like my exercises every morning, my meditation every morning. And you asked me about my life. And so I was inspired by this guy until literally one day, it was like I wanted to be around him and learn his stuff and teach his stuff and do. And then one day that passed. That was called 28 years old. That was the development of what people might call, in the old day, call enlightenment. It's just one level of growth where you're now not dependent on someone else to know who you are. I'd found myself. So I didn't need him so much for that anymore. Now what I needed at 28, and we know now biologically the prefrontal cortex, which is self-reflection, knowing thyself, that part of the brain doesn't fully develop until 28. So, the 21 to 28 is really developing that part of your brain where you're starting to learn who you are, not being dependent on others outside of you. Now, we're always dependent somewhat, of course, but we really need to find mentors at that time who inspire us and motivate us, read books or do practices, exploring what's right for you. But you're the master of your fate at that point. When you're younger, one of the problems for the younger generation today is that there's so much confusion around gender that things that were traditionally masculine are not being encouraged and supported and owned, affirmed. We need to affirm, if you're a boy, your masculinity, and if you're a girl, affirming that. The actual psychological development from puberty. See, what happens to us as men, we have a mother, and then after 3 weeks, we're just like little girls. No difference. There's no gender difference for the first 3 weeks. Then after 3 weeks, testosterone, we have this Y chromosome that releases testosterone. It starts changing our brain, and it creates our male genitals, et cetera, et cetera. Then what happens is we come into this world, our testosterone levels are the same as a grown man for 2 years. Okay, it's because that testosterone is making the male brain at that time. Then from age 2 to 13, or puberty, whenever that hits, and what's interesting, if you don't have a father, a girl will hit puberty a year earlier than other girls who don't have fathers. And if you have a father and you're a boy, you'll hit puberty later. This is also interesting that father has such a big impact on development.
Fascinating.
That's why my mother had me doing the paper route. She wanted me to be about this guy, I had this other thing. And then she really encouraged me to go off to be with the Maharishi. She knew I needed mentors, men who were successful. And of course, the Maharishi was successful and spiritual, because I have a very spiritual side to me. Okay, so that's very important. As a teenager, guys need to spend time with guys. Girls need to spend time with girls. And the development of the little boy from 2 years old to 13 years old, you have the testosterone levels pretty much like a little girl. Okay, you're not that different from it. Drops suddenly, it drops like 1/10, and so we're not that different at that time. But then at puberty, it goes up 10 times. But it needs stimulation to go up. This is why in ancient cultures there's always initiations that would sort of help you find your superpower. When you see a lot of the superpower movies, that the hero doesn't know what their power is until they have to use it. If you don't have somebody guiding you how to use your power, you don't develop it. So what we have now is the average 20-year-old has the testosterone levels 20% lower than 20 years ago.
Wow.
Just dropped. That's how much it's dropped. Now, it's the culture which is not encouraging boys to be masculine. I say we're supposed to be more feminine, like talking about our feelings. Talking about your feelings produces estrogen and lowers testosterone. You won't hear it anywhere else. That's called, I'm kicked out of the universities. I taught at Stanford. I taught at Harvard. I'm kicked out. I'm not allowed. They'll demonstrate if I can come near these places. I was kicked off of all national TV. I'm considered by some as a sexist. Somebody interviewed me today and they say, well, what do you say when the sexists say this? I said, and how do you deal with that? And I said, really, I don't hear it at all. Okay. It's only when people interview me, they call me a sexist, but I don't see it. People love my message who can relate to it. But there's an indoctrination that's going on in the universities that the evil of the world is masculine. The greatness of the world is masculine and feminine. And it's mostly men who created this world. And it's mostly women who created the men to do it, who stood behind those men, who loved those men, who inspired those men, who made those men do it. And that was our history. And yes, there's been evil all along the way. If you have a spiritual background, if you believe in God, you believe in the devil. Okay, these are two forces. The universe has to have these two forces. Otherwise, it can't exist. Think of two forces as expansion and contraction. Expansion. If it was just expansion, everything would blow up. It was just a black hole. Contraction, everything would disappear. You have to have these opposite forces, good and bad forces. We all have these good impulses inside of us and bad impulses inside of us. And so to create a world, what we can do, the strategy is you embrace the bad part of you as stupid and don't act on it. Act on the positive side of you. Now, even our biology is such that if you look at the prefrontal cortex, they've now found in science that the left prefrontal cortex is always looking at the optimistic, positive, everything's optimistic, everything's positive. When you're looking at the positive, your left prefrontal cortex, right prefrontal cortex, you're looking at the negative. So a healthy perspective on life, again, a holistic perspective, there's always bad and there's always good. And the thing we can do is we can choose to act on what's good, but we can also learn from what's bad, okay? Which if I'm suffering, well, what's my thinking? What's my negative thinking? And now let me be aware of that negative limiting thinking and let it go with more positive thinking. So you have to keep balancing those two things. That's why positive thinking is so good. But if you only look at the positive, you don't create any change. You don't transform. You don't, and practically speaking, you don't feel passion. See, passion, you automatically get it at your age, but then it starts to become less and less and less and less. And you listen to me talk, I can talk for 12 hours nonstop. I have such passion about this stuff. And when you get to my age, if you have a good, strong masculine side, you can make love for hours. I couldn't as a younger man. I'm taking care of children but I'm slightly retired. I don't start work till 12 o'clock. So that means I have time to meditate 1 or 2 hours. I have time to do my exercise 1 or 2 hours. I have time to have sex for an hour. Okay. And sometimes a few hours. This is, if you learn how to do this, it's all about developing your masculine. You can't just step into that. This is developing skills for a lifetime. But what we know to be the case is here I am at 72 with my testosterone levels. My baseline is 50% higher than when I was a young guy. Okay, this is just the lifestyle that I've developed. I work, I get rewarded for my work, I discipline myself, I have love in my heart. Here's an example for everybody to learn. If you want to be a powerful, successful man, develop your full potential. If you're a man, whenever you're angry, that means your testosterone is going down, your estrogen is going up.
Wow.
See, everybody thinks that anger and aggression in men is high testosterone. No. If you measure the hormones in a man when he's experiencing aggression, and assertiveness is one thing. Assertiveness is kind of like aggression, but with an awareness of consequences. Aggression is, I'm just thinking of me and not thinking of you at all. I want to control you. I'm going to change you, push, no consideration of the other person or the situation. That's aggression. When a man has aggression, you see what his hormones are doing. That's called fight or flight, fighting or running away from responsibility. His estrogen levels will be high. His testosterone is going down. Estrogen is the female hormone. Women need to make 10 times more. They need 20 times more than a man to have an orgasm. Okay, so this is like their happiness goes up as their estrogen goes up. For us, as our testosterone goes up, our happiness goes up, our motivation goes up. We have something called detachment. Now, testosterone, really high testosterone, is detached. Now, it may not be aware, but when you're detached, it doesn't mean you're indifferent. See, most people think detachment is indifference because you can be detached. You can have high testosterone and no estrogen. See, no feminine feelings, but just pure analytical thinking, goal setting, logic. It's like Spock on, in those TV shows. He was always just logical. He had no emotion, no feeling, whatever. Okay. The emotion and feeling is the estrogen. So whether you're feeling positive emotions or negative emotions, doesn't matter. That's estrogen. Now, when you're a man, if your testosterone is low and your estrogen goes up, it's always negative emotions. It's fight or flight, fear, anger, despair, shame. All of that is estrogen going up, testosterone going down. Now, talking about your feelings will always raise your estrogen more. So men should not talk about their feelings.
So is there a way that men should talk about their feelings obviously not to their partner, be one?
Okay, there's two. Thanks for bringing that up. I just had to let that settle in because everything is men, you need to talk about your feelings. You can talk about what you think. See, that's your whole inner world. What do you think? Any feeling you have is based to a thought. Talk about what you think and testosterone goes up. Talk about what you feel, estrogen goes up. So that's one. Two, always talk about what you feel if your feelings are positive. Because you only have positive feelings when your testosterone is high. If you have negative feeling, don't talk about it. Then there's another dynamic where you can be light about it. You can talk about, you make jokes about it. Okay, this is what guys will do. It's like, oh God, I hate that, blah, 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 blah. So angry about that. It's ridiculous. They're so stupid. You're venting, but you're not doing it to change someone. And you hit it right on the. If I use negative emotion to change somebody, I will only become not only stuck in my negative emotion until that person changes. See, if we use negativity to get what we want, then if we don't get what we want, we have to keep feeling negative. And then when you use negativity to get what you want, you're actually growing pathways in your brain. This is the plastic brain that we have now. The brain can change. It changes based upon what you do, how you use your brain. If you suddenly start learning a new pattern of playing the piano, you'll grow pathways in your brain. They know that. Well, if you use negative emotion to get what you want, then to get what you want, your brain has to have more negative emotion. So some people are just plagued by always having a negative point of view. They're just using that one part of their brain rather than look at your negative emotions and then let them go and do something about it. That's for men. Okay. It's for women. It's a little different. Their whole thing is talk about it for a while. Their estrogen levels will go higher. Then their stress will go down. And then when their stress goes down, that's when all their problems seem to get smaller. See,
it's funny. Like when I first read, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Like I could relate straight back to my relationship with my wife where there was a period being a male, like she'd come home from work and she'd talk about her problems. And in that period, I know you mentioned it in the book, but like in that period, she talked about her problems. And all I'm thinking about is, well, why don't you do this, and suggesting and trying to fix her problems or come up with solutions. And you talk about it in the book that, a man is just meant to sit there and listen to her and resist that urge of trying to fix her problems. And that will lower her stress and she will feel seen and heard. And it was mind blowing. And it's something I've got to, keep being aware to check into when that scenario comes up.
Look, I've been teaching this for over 40 years, and I have a little sticker on my mirror that says, don't talk. Just keep the mouth closed. But I do talk. I ask questions. Okay. Help me understand that better. Tell me more. What else? Really? Noises? And tell me more. And what else? And give me some details. Always ask questions, because when women talk about what's inside, their estrogen levels go up. And when a man, when you're listening, you're actually on your male side. You're penetrating. See, everybody thinks that listening is feminine. No, listening is the most masculine thing you can do. I mean, think about when I'm reading books, I'm researching, I'm thinking, I'm processing, I'm taking in information, but always to solve a problem. Now, when I'm listening to gather information in order to feel what she feels. That's called empathy, knowing that's going to solve the problem, because her problem is not this didn't get done, this didn't get done, this didn't. Her estrogen levels are too low. So we're still solving the problem. We have a new strategy, because the more women are on their male side, the more they need help when they get home to go to their female side. And, you have a category where your partner just wants to talk. The tragedy is that today, a lot of women come home and they're so much on their male side, they don't want to talk. They're not in touch with what they feel. They don't even know what's going on. And all they know is they're busy in their brain. I still have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. I have no time to talk. They don't know the value of talking. And also they feel, well, if I did talk, you would interrupt me. So why should I do it? Now, you wouldn't, because you now know to try not to do that. But most men will. When a woman starts talking about problems, they go, oh, well, we ought to do this, and well, I'll fix that. And well, that's ridiculous. That's not really the case. Are you looking at it the wrong way? We're trying to help her solve that problem the way we would, through analysis and minimizing. See, when something happens, one of my favorite things was, no big deal. There's nothing else I can do about it. Take time, forget it. But we have the capacity, if we use it, if someone teaches us to do it, how to forget your problems. Women need to learn how to remember their problems and how to communicate to their partner in such a way that he'll listen to her problems. So for a woman, all you have to do, women say, oh, my husband won't listen. I say, well, two problems. One is, if you're talking about negative feelings, you're blaming him. Blame other people for what you feel and he'll listen to it. It's a real simple concept. The point of we don't try to change your husband with your negative feelings. Just talk about your negative feelings about other things. Then you'll feel better. He'll feel like he helped you to feel better, and he'll be a better husband because he feels successful in the relationship, and you haven't beaten him down with any criticism and complaints. In a sense, women are designed to complain. Okay, they're designed to see what the problems are. If you look at just pure femininity, it's what's wrong and how can we make it better. Okay, she just sees problems. Men are designed to solve problems. If nobody points out the problems, then we're out of work. So, but those are extremes. Like, I'm just making the point of masculine and feminine. But what makes us attracted to each other is when I'm more on my male polarity and she's more on her female polarity, like two magnets, a positive and a negative pole. And here they are as just kind of friends. We like each other. But then you're sleeping together and you get close together. Then if you take magnets, you don't notice the pull until they get close. And then that's the attraction. That's what we want. And we want that attraction that we felt in the beginning. And I'm sure many people listening would like to know, how do you bring back that feeling of strong magnetic attraction? Well, this is a concept that I don't know anybody talking about specifically. What most therapists know, and I just have to point out what does work a bit. Take your partner on a romantic date. Now, on a romantic date, what's happening? You're surrounded by new and different experiences. New and different produces dopamine. Dopamine, and everybody's now familiar with dopamine, it's the motivator and so forth. But biologically, when your brain makes dopamine, and it will make dopamine if you go to a new hotel or a new place, you go for a walk, or you meet some new people. A lot of couples have nothing to say, bring another couple in the room, and then now it's a big conversation because something new and different. It's just a motivating brain chemical. For men, dopamine, when dopamine goes up, their testosterone goes up. For women, when dopamine goes up, if they feel safe, their estrogen levels go really high. Okay. And that's what a romantic date is new and different, where a man prioritizes the woman, does what she would like, here's her best behavior, dressing up, whatever it is. Her estrogen go up. And as her estrogen begins to double, then she starts feeling, I want to have sex with you. She can't feel I want to have sex with you unless she can say, I can have sex with you. I'm open to having sex with you. Well, I'm your wife. I'll lie there for you. But to actually have a woman want to have sex with you, just like you want to have sex with her. That want is a surge of testosterone that only occurs in her when her estrogen levels are really high. So you never say to your wife, and do you want to have sex? You say, is there a part of you that wants to have sex with me? And she says, well, there's always a part of me. But what she can be instructed to say is, right now, I'll need a little time and I'll let you know. See, a lot of frustration with marriage is to kill a marriage. A guy will want to have sex with his wife. Her estrogen, she just can't honestly say, I want to have sex. I love you. I could be cuddled with you. We can lie in bed together, but I don't feel the desire. So she doesn't feel the desire. She needs a little more time, and sometimes just time. Let me just get this done, and let me ask for help with a few things, or maybe they'll go out on a date, and then suddenly she's wanting it again. Because biologically, sex is a very biological thing. We don't have all those requirements to have sex. See, women, if they get pregnant, that's a big a consequence. Sex for women has big consequences. Okay, so for men, little consequences if you're just traveling around trying to find a woman to make a baby with. So for women, they have to have a hormonal change of feeling safe, and I feel I can depend on you for X, Y, Z. Then their estrogen levels go higher and higher. Then they want to have sex. So I used to say to my wife, I'd finish a book, after ignoring her for a month while I'm writing it. I feel like, when you finish a book, you just feel like Superman. I did that, your testosterone is surging. Now I just want to go upstairs and take her clothes off and make love, right? It's just like, hooray. Yeah. Well, she's been ignored for 30 days. She didn't have any estrogen. She's just trying to be a good wife and not complain, don't make it worse for her husband. But she has needs. And so I say, well, let's make love. And she says, well, honey, I need to get to know you again. And I'm like, well, when? She goes, I don't know. And then that was the end of the conversation. Now I'm feeling angry as I'm waiting, because I'm like, I don't know what's. And if I'm angry, she can't build estrogen. You can't. If a husband is angry, a woman cannot feel safe, and so her estrogen can't go up. It's just, this is why you never want to talk out loud if you're angry. What you want to do is stop talking, and then it won't escalate. And then you just say something like, let me think about what we're saying. I just need some time to think about it. We'll talk again tomorrow at 12. That's it. Just don't pursue a conversation at all if the conversation is making you feel angry, because you're not loving at that moment. You could love her, but you're not loving in that moment. And she's just going to shut down. Well, I was getting angry because she didn't want to have sex with me. Now, it wasn't she didn't want to have sex. She just wasn't in touch with the part of her that did want to have sex. But that's just a mental thought. The whole thing changed when she said, well, I need some time. And then I said, will you let me know when you're ready? And she said, yes. Then there's no longer a question. I can relax. But if I didn't know that she was going to let me know, then I'm always like looking, is she in the mood or is she not in the mood? How long is it going to be? It's one little phrase can make a world of difference. It's just say, well, would you let me know when you're ready, or when you're getting in the mood, or is there something I can do that can help? See, we have to solve the problem, but one phrase, just let me know when you're ready, and then I would be patient. So anyway, the communication is so important. I want to come back to the men who are listening to me, because I just know that they can't even do studies on the biological effect of porn because they can't find a control group. What men are not doing porn. It's so huge, the amount of porn. And porn is, I wrote a book on it. I wasn't doing porn at all, but I had to go online to see what it was. Within a few minutes, I had to masturbate. It was like I was on a drug trip. It was so powerful to open up your computer to 64,000 women all ready to have sex with you. If you just do free porn, it's right there, videos. It's insane, the effect that had on my biology. So my point is, it gives you the illusion, the high dopamine level, and for men, it raises testosterone. High dopamine for women raises estrogen. So the more we do porn, the more dependent we are on high dopamine for our testosterone, rather than relationship skills that will raise your testosterone. So one is you can go on a romantic vacation or you can watch porn, whatever. That's going to produce dopamine. Your testosterone will come up. It'll be very temporary. Your testosterone will go back down. If you have something called polarity, those two magnets, he's more masculine, she's more feminine, then you get close, boom, it will come back. But there has to be the polarity of she's way more feminine and I'm way more masculine at that time. So you might have heard, younger guys coming to you for advice and they're saying, how do I get out of the friend zone? And women say, I'm really nice, but they don't want to like have sex with me, or they want to be with me, want to be friends. Well, that woman put him in the friend zone, or he put himself in the friend zone by reading a bunch of books on relationships, whereas they say things like, talk about your feelings, share your feelings with her, always do whatever she wants. Now, see, what's different for me is I always am thinking, what can I do that she wants? But I balance it where I also have time where I do what I want. See, if you give up doing what you want to do, now you're not masculine anymore. You got to do what you want to do. This raises testosterone, whether it's play basketball, soccer, meditate, work hard, the things that make you feel good. Your happiness has to first come from what you do. Then you can depend on a woman, her happiness and her appreciation and her love to make you feel better. Relationships are a big problem when a man is upset. He's saying my pain is coming from her behavior. No. All that her behavior can do is keep me from feeling the ecstasy of happier. But my wife can upset me without a doubt. But what I do at that time, because we naturally tend to become too dependent on our partners. Okay, when they're just so loving, oh, great, this makes me feel really great. But then you have to be able to come back to your male side where I'm not dependent on anyone to be happy. I'm dependent on what I do. See, that's testosterone. That we talked about discipline. We talked about setting goals. We talked about achieving goals. We talked about, making useful sacrifices. Like I'm giving up food for 3 days. I'll get I'll get my 6-pack back, at 72 years old, just by fasting 3 days, and which is the outcome of completely going to my female side on the vacation. See, female side is do what you like. Whenever you do what you like, you're on your female side. That started for me when I remember as a teenager, growing my hair out. This was the generation of the 60s where men started becoming more feminine. It felt fantastic, grow your hair out, grow beads, bell-bottom pants. We demonstrated against the draft, and we were draft dodgers and no war. We went to the female side. That's good. But because we were started out so masculine, as you move towards the feminine, there's a place in the middle where you're both masculine and feminine. That's wholeness. That's fantastic. It's delicious. But you see, once you're moving over, then you go too far over there. Now you're weak. Now you're depressed. Now you're procrastinating, doing what you say you're going to do. Now you depend on other things to make you happy. Now you have too many complaints about women. You're demanding of them. Whenever you're unhappy with your partner, you're on your female side. Suck it up, get back to your male side, do things that make your testosterone go up. For me, the major testosterone producer is my meditation. Also watching the news, I can build my testosterone that way. Then I also exercise because my physical body needs it. But for me, learning meditation was what really saved me in my life from being a hippie off on my female side to then being inspired to be like my teacher, who was very disciplined, but doing what he liked at the same time. See, it's both things. I loved giving this interview with you. We just go on and on. It's enjoyable for me. But if I just did what I like to do and I had no discipline in my life, I'd become too feminine. My estrogen would go high, my testosterone would go down. And this is the doom of every man. This is what's happening in the world. Their testosterone levels are going down, down, down. And let's say it wasn't so much even your behavior, just the fact that we're inundated with what's called hormone disruptors. The pesticides that are used, the GMOs and the plastics and the plastic water bottles, all are hormone disruptors that inhibit the production of testosterone in men. So that's also why I fast. That's very important to detoxify. but two, your behaviors can counteract that to some extent. You see, but masturbation, my gosh. So I wanted to heal men from the addiction to getting aroused and ejaculating. And so many younger men, if they're more on their female side, they premature ejaculate. They don't last long enough. I mean, I have my classes, I say, okay, now I'm going to do my private class for you. You'll be able to have sex for an hour, okay, nonstop. And the woman's loving every minute of it. When you're just taking it to higher and higher levels of estrogen and higher levels of testosterone in your body. You have complete control. See, this needing to ejaculate is because your estrogen went too high. See, it was too pleasurable. You're enjoying it too much. You're greedy. You're just like, this feels so good. And so you're getting more pleasure out of it than her. If you're getting more pleasure out of it than her, you will ejaculate, which means your testosterone is detachment, not indifference. It's detachment. It's just the pleasure of being complete control where you don't have to ejaculate and you can bring her to higher and higher and higher levels. And, you go higher and you relax a little bit, change positions, you might talk a little bit, continue on, do it, continue on. So eventually you learn how to control yourself so much that you never ejaculate. That's your goal. But it takes a while to learn that. And the first thing you have to do is completely give up porn, completely give up masturbation. But you're in the habit of waking up with erections that say, touch me, touch me, touch me. So you use that as a training session so that when you have sex with a woman, you can last much, much longer. Because you want to be able to last as long as she's had many, many orgasms. That's just like it's the goal. Okay. And the goal is just to last so long and give her what she needs. And her goal is not to have any goals, but just to enjoy everything you do. So the technique this is a Chinese technique, which is when you got this erection and it's not going away, don't do the up and down. Okay, this will make you ejaculate. What you do is you take your finger on the top part of your penis and just stroke it. It'll be pleasurable. And it will do this and just try to do it for 5 minutes and you'll be done. Then try to do it for 10 minutes, then try to do it for 15 minutes, where you're never trying to increase pleasure. Anytime you're trying to increase pleasure, you're going too far to your female side. Just what you're doing is pleasurable, then you're on your male side and your female side. And there's a natural rhythm in sex where Masters and Johnson, is this okay? Want to do a little sex stuff here?
Yeah.
It's good stuff. So they amped it out by measuring all of these conditions in the body of arousal, like your heartbeat and your things are speeding up and EEG, whatever they were doing. They were measuring arousal, which is increasing heartbeat, increasing breathing, various lubrication. All these things are increasing. And then after a certain point, it hits a plateau and it's no longer increasing. Now, that's a subtlety you can start to learn to become aware of, is there's a place where you're kissing your partner, touching her, being turned on to her, and at a certain point, or maybe even having intercourse with her, it's at a certain point, you're going to start trying to make it more. This is called arousal. It's just happening automatically. I mean, whatever you do feels fantastic. And then we rush into intercourse. And then usually we want to rush. Anytime we want to rush somewhere, it's because it's already starting to hit the plateau. See, your energy is going up, up, up. Now it hits the plateau. All you'll experience is, I want it to be more intense. You start to try to intensify. That's what an ejaculation is. Intensification to create a spasm that causes relaxation. So you're intensifying. So you never try to intensify. So what you do is when you're practicing, you're just doing this, never trying to increase the pleasure, never trying to ejaculate. But you do this for 5 or 10 minutes, the penis, there'll be no, you're not trying to increase the pleasure, it'll become a little boring. Then you're done. You might still have an erection. That's okay. Go take a shower. You'll be done. Just don't do the up and down movement. This is the movement that causes you to ejaculate. So you want to train yourself without the excess stimulation of up and down. Then when you're making love to a woman, you can last as long as you want. And that's, wow, you just feel like King Kong. Okay. I guess it's very funny. I said King Kong because I thought about writing a book called Gorilla Sex. I was just climbing a mountain in Africa where there were gorillas, and I'm with a guide, so I'm not all by myself, right? And out of the bush, six feet away, okay, comes this silverback gorilla. I mean, this guy's head is bigger than my whole body, huge, gigantic, and he's just sitting there noticing me. And he sits down. We don't move. We just sit there and watch. And it's not like this hasn't been done before. That's what they find these gorillas, and then they'll find you. But this time he said something unusual happened. The little gorillas all came over, and then one had sex with him. And so normally they don't have sex in front of the guides or whatever, but they did with me there. And then everyone was laughing about that. But a gorilla sex looks like this. It was about 10 minutes where the little girl was rubbing her body on her. Don't know exactly what she was doing, but she was just sort of rubbing against him. He wasn't moving at all. And then there were three strokes, and he fell over and went to sleep. So that's gorilla sex. That's pretty much what humans are still doing. 3 strokes and you're done. So the idea is, when you see those 3 strokes are coming, at that moment, what you want to do is, you could be inside of her, even you're stroking, but there's 3 strokes away. That's usually when she's wanting it the most, and you feel like, oh, I want to give it to her. Don't. She's only wanting more because it's already started to settle down in her. And so she's wanting to intensify, and you'll intensify just to satisfy her, and then it's over. You don't need to do that. Let her desire increase. Let her want you more. So what you do at that time, and this is a magical technique, is become aware that when you ejaculate inside of a woman, there's a natural mechanism your body does to ejaculate. The pelvis does a spasm that goes like this, okay, back and forth very quick, okay, like that. You can actually consciously do that movement as soon as you think those 3 strokes are about to come. And that will release the tension. All ejaculation is a release of tension, because your energy, she's not able to receive as much energy as you're sending. In simple terms, your excitement is greater than hers at some point. And so your energy is not flowing into her and coming back to you. It gets stopped. So it's jammed up. So there's this release of energy. So another thing you can do in order to open her up, because see, her estrogen has to keep going higher and higher for you to last longer and longer, because she has to constantly be receiving your energy. Your testosterone is going higher and higher as her estrogen's going higher. And yours is going higher with her, but it's not dominating. You see the balance there. Why you do slow in the beginning. You don't do anything to excite you too much, just enough to slowly excite her. As she gets excited, your excitement follows her excitement. And her orgasm actually becomes your orgasm, but it's not an ejaculation. But meanwhile, that's something that's called edging. You look online, that's called edging. It's just as a subtlety of edging so that you don't have to ejaculate at the end. A lot of times guys will edge, but then they ejaculate. Over time, you can learn to edge and never ejaculate. That's me at 72, 50% higher testosterone levels, primarily because I have regular sex and don't ejaculate. Now, every man should know that if you ejaculate, this is a study that was done on testosterone and ejaculation. You ejaculate, you go back down to baseline, but you stay at baseline, and every year it goes down 1%. There's something to interrupt that process, which is when you ejaculate on Saturday night, if you abstain for 6 days of ejaculation, on the 7th day, your testosterone will go 50% higher.
Wow. That's fascinating.
Yes, it's been replicated. The study is replicated. It's just, if you go for 6 days, 7th day, your testosterone, when you wake up, it's like 50% higher testosterone. Erection's going to be much harder. And when you have sex, there's going to be more of a connection with the female, and it will raise her estrogen. Women literally are constantly affected by our testosterone level. The most boring thing to a woman over time is when he's talking about his feelings. Women hate it as much as they feel politically incorrect to say that. When men come home talking about all their problems and this had to happen and didn't go here, and I don't know if I'm ever going to do, just a total turnoff to a woman. So what do? You need to talk about that. You need to go talk to another guy who's not going to become your mother. Okay. But then you even want to get out of the habit of doing that. You want to first, if you want to talk, first build your testosterone up, not by talking. You could do meditating as one, yoga is another, exercise is another, any competitive sport is another. Playing your video game is okay, but too much of it is an addiction, and it will raise your estrogen. It becomes too fun. Okay. When it's too fun, it's addiction. That's estrogen.
Yeah.
So,
there's what about like breath work and doing cold showers and ice baths?
Super testosterone. I mean, I hold my best for an hour of using, what's his name? Wim Hof. I love it.
Yeah.
It's just it's an amazing technique. When you do deep meditation as well, you go into that breathless state. Now, when I say I can hold it for an hour, I can do it for hours. Actually, it's not fully no air. I can't go underwater and do it. What happens is I've gone underwater to see if I'm actually not breathing because my lungs aren't moving at all. But it's like there's these tiny, tiny little bubbles. It's like I'm breathing in and breathing out infinitely fast. It's an amazing technique. If you're doing Wim Hof, you think you're holding your breath, go underwater, you'll see you're actually just, it's bubbling. Just enough for the brain because the brain needs a little tiny bit of oxygen. But it's all automatic. It's what yogis get into when you learn long meditation. I'm a long meditator. I'm 50-year practitioner. So his breathing technique almost puts you in the same state that 50 years of meditation gave me. Okay, it's an amazing technique. The cold water thing, I don't do that now so much. I did when I was younger. Fantastic. These are huge testosterone stimulators because basically it's about controlling, feeling your power from inside. I'm not going to run away from anything. It's willpower. You do willpower, any type of willpower. That's like in my morning exercises. I always have to get to that when I do 21 of each one. It's that last 10 that takes willpower. I can't just do what I like. I'd like to do 12, but I do 21 of each of the moves. And you can feel your whole body. You feel this power coming into you. That's what we want to achieve as a man. It doesn't have to. We don't have to overdo it. Just a moderate amount. I want to throw in there walking. Walking is the most important thing because historically, millions of years, we had to walk to get food. And so what happens when you walk is you not running. You can do some running, but the most important is walking. You walk for long distances. What happens is it stimulates your lymphatic flow to detoxify your body. It is the most powerful thing to, like, for example, when I'm fasting, I also do a lot of walking. And a lot of people, they rest during a fast, which is a big mistake. You just, the more you rest, the more you need to rest because you're not making any energy. You want to get out there and make energy by walking. And you don't have to push your body too much. And I will say about all the big runners, and I know some people's bodies are just designed to run. But when I talk to these Qigong guys in China, I studied that for 10 years. I say, now what about jogging? They go, your tires on your car are only going to last so long. It's called wear and tear. You get the same benefit out of some strenuous exercise, not for too long, and also for walking. So you're always toned and whatever. I did, during the pandemic, I really built my muscles up. There was no question about that. Really pushing it, but I'm back to just my normal muscle tone. I like that. I didn't, I feel just. It was just too much. You have to find for your body type if it's too much. And I have to say, back in the day when I was learning about, what inspired me to learn about testosterone was 40 years ago. I was looking in the muscle magazines. We didn't have internet or anything. And so all these muscle magazines were always promoting libido exercises. Okay, pills, libido pills. Why? Why do you need I've never needed a libido pill. Men do not need libido pills unless their estrogen's too high, but also or unless they run out of testosterone. So I learned this with one of my clients couldn't keep it up with his girlfriend. If it's the first time, it was no problem because dopamine raises testosterone, right? But basically, after he's in an intimate relationship, he just became soft. What do I do? He just felt so powerless. And he was the trainer for the New Zealand Army. Okay. I mean, he was built like a god, And so I said, your testosterone is too low. He said, no way. I said, just test it. It was 0.
Wow.
All of his testosterone was being used up to make his muscles. So that's called overtraining. You don't want too much muscles. Otherwise you become impotent. You want to leave some testosterone for the sex. Because if you build those muscles up, then you have to use up your testosterone to make those muscles. So, and kind of a standard in muscle building is you work hard, a set of muscle groups, and you let them rest. You've got to let them rest long enough to rebuild. And that's how I first came up with the idea of men in their cave. Part of it was work and then come back and rest. It's a cycle, work and rest. It was also in the meditation world that I was in for many years. The whole idea was dynamic activity and deep rest in meditation. And then, sort of meditation is going to your cave. Okay. It's forgetting your problems, anything you can do to forget your problems after having solved problems all day, then to be able to forget your problems is how your body rebuilds the testosterone of the day. And women don't understand that because they don't have the testosterone levels we have. Needing to rebuild testosterone is not a major issue for them. The major issue for them is how to stimulate estrogen production. And that's what Beyond Mars and Venus teaches us, how to ask her questions. And I want to, I know we've already gone over time. And
oh, it's okay. Yeah, if you've got the time, like I said, it's.
So I want to throw in, I know some good tips for guys. Another thing is, when you're penetrating a woman, what you'll notice is most men, when they penetrate, they squeeze their anus as they go in. Okay, it's a thrust. So what you want to do is practice awareness of that part of you, keeping the anus relaxed, not open, not closed, just relaxed. And that forces you to have more of a full body thrust. And it keeps the sex energy from being constricted in your anus, because that's a tension. The energy needs to flow around your body. It needs to go everywhere. And so when your thighs basically are participating in the thrusting, now you've got a lot of muscles involved with it, and that allows the tension not to build up at the base of the spine. You don't want it to get stuck there, tightening it. So keeping the anus relaxed and making sure that you're edging. And the next thing is that's just the physical side of it. The next is the emotional side of it. Now, this is a technique that will only work if you're in a committed relationship with someone you love. So when you're in a relationship with someone you love, you have to have this conversation with the woman outside the bedroom first. And you have to say, honey, there's this process I learned, which is for you to say to me, we can try it as an exercise and see how we feel. For you to say to me, do you love me? And then I'll say, yes, I love you. And then you say, how much do you love me? And then you say, oh, I love you with all my heart. And are you happy we're together? I'm so happy we're together. Do you like to have fun with me? Do you enjoy sex with me? Do you think I'm beautiful? Each one of the things she says. See, these are the secret insecurities that all women have. They may not admit to right away. But if you want to have sex like you had in the beginning, you need to feel like what you had in the beginning. And in the beginning, what do women always want to do? They want to talk about the relationship. And do you like me? Do you love me? Am I important to you? Am I number one? Are you committed to me? Are we in a committed relationship? See, it's when she says those things, she's undressing, not just physically, but emotionally. Because that's always going on deep inside the psyche of a woman. Just like in the psyche of a man, it's always going on, am I good enough? Always going on. We're not aware of it. But when a woman has an orgasm, you feel like, yeah, I did that. You have a premature ejaculation. You're kind of like, oh, bum, I didn't do that. I just gave a talk to, 500 chiropractors at one of their universities. And man, I got a standing ovation for a long time. I had so much fun. I felt like Superman afterwards. It took me hours to where I could call an Uber. I couldn't even get back in my body. But my testosterone was just off the chart. Now, am I an insecure person? If they hadn't given me a standing ovation, I would have thought, good job. But they give me a standing ovation, I think, Superman job, amazing. I don't even know why I charged for this. So it's not like I'm needy for that feedback. It's not like she's needy. Do you love me? Do you not? It just makes her feel better. Women love to be told you're beautiful. But they won't say, do you think I'm beautiful? The reason they don't want to say that is because they're afraid you might say, well, you're pretty when you were young, but are you always happy to be with me? I'm always happy to be with you, even though factually, sometimes I'm a bit frustrated with you. You annoy me about this, but you're letting your high self come out, which is, I always love you, honey. You're the one for me. So you do this outside the bedroom and you practice it. And so she feels more at ease doing it, because see, she's not going to feel comfortable because she's afraid you might, are you still attracted to me? And you say, well, I think if you lost a few pounds, you might be more attracted. You can't say those things, you see, particularly if she's being vulnerable. You don't want to say them. You clearly learn not to say those things. This is just standard. I remember when Bonnie turned 40, she was standing in the mirror. She says, do you see that? I said, what? That's called cellulite. Do you see that? I said, no. Well, look at that. Are you turned on to that? I walked there, gave her a hug, said, honey, I'm turned on to you. I love you. But look at that. See, it's called politeness. It's a romantic language. So this is a love language of reassuring a woman that she's number one, she's beautiful, she's special, that you're not mad at her, that you love her, you figure, whatever her issues are, it's so fantastic. And then the experience I have as a man when my wife does this is I walk around all day. Of course, I love my wife, but you all know when you're having sex, you feel the love more, right? You feel it more. Well, when you plant your sword out, you plant your flag. Yes, I love you. And I love you like the stars in the moon and forever. I love you next life, even. I'm going to find you. You say these things. It touches a woman's spirit inside. Now, you want to defend that flag with your life. It helps you stay connected to feeling the joy of being in this relationship. Because there's always times and you can, oh God, I have to go through this again. Oh, she forgot to do that. Oh, can I just watch TV and you stop bugging me? It could be those little things become much, much less if you said the words and a woman needs those words, then you'll own it. And literally your brain, there's a part of the brain called the reticular activating system, is once you say you're going to do something, it goes into motion, finding solutions for you, motivating you to do it. If you write down your goals, which is why it's so important for men to write down their goals, because once you've written it down, you sort of said, I'm going to do this. Your brain automatically goes into motivating you to do it. If you just say, I think I'll do that, you don't have that motivation. It's powerful to write your goals. So many motivational speakers say, the most important thing is write out your goals you're going to do today. Now, what I do is I think about my goals before I go to bed. Then I sleep really good and I get up at the right time, ready to go. It's another technique. A lot of people say, review your day. That's nice to do. I'm nothing against that. But when I think, okay, tomorrow, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to talk to so-and-so, and I got this client and that. I'll look on my calendar to see the things I'm going to do. And then I imagine how happy they're going to be, how grateful they're going to be, how successful I'm going to be, then go to sleep. That all prepares you for the next day. You're subconsciously creating that happening. You're manifesting your reality by setting goals at night. This is very, very important for men and testosterone levels, since we've been focusing on that aspect. Don't lower your testosterone looking at porn. I mean, don't even look at it. And as long as you're addicted to the ejaculation, don't even dwell on another woman very long. I'm just kind of avoid it. Just not going to look at that. Then once you're not addicted to ejaculation, you never see women as sex objects anymore. You just see them as beautiful. But your wife is, I hesitate to say this, she's my sex object. My wife is sex object and partner in life, soulmate, and everything else. But she can turn me on. And that's particularly, then you can have sex almost every day, depending on stress levels or whatever, because you're not ejaculating. Because then you don't lose your juice. As long as you don't ejaculate, that can become a goal down the line of training your body to not need to have premature ejaculation. Then when you can last long enough for her to have many orgasms, then you can start practicing edging, where you don't get close to that ejaculation and you shake it off. And then what you do is then you do the, I love you so much. So that's like a trigger. I'll say, I love you so much. And then she'll say, how much do you love me? And I'll say, I love you like the stars. And are you sure you're happy to be married to me? I'm so glad I married you. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. We bring that dialogue into the making love. So many couples, a woman's estrogen level can't go as high if it's not also emotional. See, just being naked turns a man on, right? And also makes her turn on. Okay, she's like feeling sexy because she's gradually opening up, feeling loved, feeling safe and everything. But now you do it emotionally, her estrogen can go to a higher level. So this is the key to keeping the sex for a lifetime. Because I was shocked. I was in a relationship with a girl who looked like a model. And after a very short period of time, I could be in bed with her and not be turned on at all. And I'm just thinking, what happened to that? It's because we didn't have any kind of emotional polarity together. It just, physical is not enough unless it's backed up by emotion, and emotion will be backed up by spirit ultimately, which comes into play when you make love. It's the most spiritual thing I can do is to make love. It's a union of two spirits. And there's a feeling that you can look for. If you're just a yogi or a spiritual person, a monk, there's a spiritual experience, which is, I am that I am, and I am that I am. It's a unity experience. And when I was a young guy meditating all the time, I remember, oh my God, I'm that too. And it's a little confusing when you actually start consciously feeling oneness with everything. But then in making love, then you can feel that with your partner, which is, and the way it showed up for me, it wasn't like I am that. It was, it was I. Well, let me make the transition. It's I'm yours and you're mine and we're one. And you can look at it in practical terms. I'm your husband and you're my wife and we're one. And it's kind of the opposite of what people realize. Real union is complete attachment and complete freedom at the same time. And final words here, because I'm going way over time, is a lot of men feel like, okay, if I was to settle down with one woman, it's a big sacrifice. That means that you're not experiencing great sex. See, when you have great sex, why would I want to have sex with somebody else? You know, one movie star once said, why would I eat out when I have prime rib at home? Okay, when you got the best at home, why would I want to do that? But to get to that place, you have to give up the ejaculating all the time, because when you ejaculate, it makes you addicted to sex. If you don't ejaculate, you see, masturbation makes you want to have sex more, and you have to have more and more and more. When you make love to someone you love, they found that hormone prolactin comes up, and that inhibits your desire for sex. So some people, well, that's not a good thing. And that's what happens to a lot of couples is they're married. The man has so much prolactin, he's not interested in having sex with his wife. He's not interested in having sex with anybody unless it's a stranger, unless it's a big dopamine stimulator. But he can't have sex with his wife because he has so much prolactin, it inhibits the sexual desire unless you have the actual real reason for sexual desire, which is polarity. So this is a very unique message. This is not like something you read anywhere. It's polarity is when you're more masculine and she's more feminine, like two magnet poles, positive and negative. When you get close, bang, you just get that huge attachment. They're one. They come together. You know, attachment, which is, but at the same time, when masculine is attaching to feminine, you're getting pure masculine, pure feminine. Pure masculine is detachment. Okay. Like right now, I have total detachment, which is why it seems like only 5 minutes we've been talking. You know,
Yeah.
That's just unlimited, open, your energy supply. But then you see the juice and, you know, the joy inside of me to share these ideas, to want to help and know it's going to help some people. That's my attachment to making a difference. So you want to have detachment and attachment at the same time. And you can primarily experience that as a man more when you're one with the woman. She becomes your female side and you are the detached, pure detached, at the same time experiencing the pleasure she's feeling because you're inside of her body. You're one with her. So it's I'm yours, you're mine, we're one. And with that state, the thought of my having sex with any other woman, I mean, all these beautiful women and everything, I have no interest at all. My wife always said, are you sure you don't want to have sex with that girl? I said, no, not interested at all. I have no interest in, to me, it would just, my energy would go down because I'm not in love with that person. I haven't bonded. That person hasn't been in love with me. So if you have a commitment, what's going to happen, okay, is that your sex desire goes down unless you have polarity. And the polarity will create a lifetime of sex desire and attraction, because the polarity, the dopamine people experience in the newness of a relationship is always transitory. It won't last. You get this free drug-like experience where you touch the little finger to the other one the first time and it was like electricity lights up, you know, that I don't have with my partner. But you know, a good 20 minutes into having sex, my penis inside, I'm way beyond the electricity. You know, this is big stuff for guys. And another little tip for the young men listening is when you have sex, don't put the penis in all the way right away. It's too much. It'll cause too much estrogen in your body, make you want to ejaculate sooner. What you want is just do a little bit. See, do a little bit, even rubbing her clitoris with your penis for a while, you know, just to, you know, you want her to always lead the way in terms of pleasure and excitement. If you're more excited than she is, she becomes less excited, you will become more excited, and then you'll ejaculate. She's the female side, and ultimately she becomes your female side, and you get to be your full male side without being held back by your female side, because the female side is emotion, and one of the emotions we have is fear, and fear holds us back. It's the number one. This is why you have the most powerful people in the world are sociopaths and psychopaths. They don't feel fear. It's just a massive power you feel. The only time I felt that powerful was after watching Terminator. Because in Terminator, men always identify with the action figure, whether they're good or bad, it doesn't matter. So the whole movie, I'm identifying with a robot that has no emotions. And so when I left there, it was so funny in the garage. I lit up my car, vroom, vroom, and I heard throughout the garage, everybody else, vroom, vroom. It's like all the men were skidding out of there. It's just like, you have to realize it when you don't have the fear of hurting other people. Like I would never want to hurt someone, mislead someone, be rude to someone, cruel to someone. That holds us back from just feeling this raw masculine power, which is completely detached. See, we are a balance of masculine and feminine, but we've become too feminine as men. Our culture has pushed down that masculine. And psychology did it, not knowing they're doing it. They're just confused about it. And then when you don't have boys having boy activities, so see, there's this natural thing. I was just with some indigenous people in Africa, right? And they live in these little mud huts, okay? And they just wear a few bits of clothes, and I'm with them. And they're telling me through a translator, you raise a little boy with the mother. She stays with the mother. The men sleep separately. But then at puberty, when he gets pubic hairs, that's puberty, then suddenly that's when his testosterone needs to go up 10 times. But he needs stimulation. He needs male energy for it to be stimulated. He needs to resonate with the male energy. So the father with other men will come and capture the boy out of the house, take him away, and the mother will scream, although she knows it's all going to happen, but she doesn't want the child to feel abandoned by the mother. So the father is going to take the boy away, and now he's going to learn how to have his tools. He's going to learn how to hunt. He's going to learn these things. And so he's taken away from the female side. And so different traditions have initiations for that. Another one is the vision quest. You've probably heard of that, where you go out 10 days or 7 days on your own. Because whenever you're on your own, you can't depend on mommy. You can't depend on anybody. You got to do it yourself. That's testosterone production. And to be a healthy male, you need to experience 10 times more testosterone wants to occur in your body. But if you have no males around, it's hard for it to happen. So what we have is this confusion around identity because boys didn't have a chance to bond with doing boy things. They're all seen by your mother as crude and disgusting. If you don't have a father to resonate with, then you just resonate with your mother. You don't go into full 10 times testosterone. So the boy has to be taken away from the mother in a sense, not completely, but you have to be taken to be with the males, to interact with the male. That's where sports are so important. Males need to be on football teams, basketball teams, whatever it is. Competitive sport is really good. And I've got books I've read that say competition is terrible. It's the evil of the world. They want to take out competition. Politically speaking, capitalism is all about competition. Communism is all about no competition. We all get the same thing.
That's interesting. Yeah.
It's too feminized. You see, it's so feminized. It's unhealthy. The testosterone is just going to go down. Women's stress levels will go up because when women feel they don't need men, they're more independent. Their testosterone goes up, not a bad thing, but they don't tend to their estrogen. So a capacity to love comes from a mother who's happy and fulfilled. Now, this is what's happening in America. 70 to 75% of Black boys do not have a father in the home.
Wow. 40
to 45, depending where in the country, white boys do not have a father in the home. That will immediately feminize you as a male. You need to have that role. That's why my father wasn't always there, but my mother was happy. That was an important thing because then you feel that you don't feel the burden of trying to make your mother happy when it's not your role to make her happy. Okay, that's the thing that gets put on little boys. But not having a father around, and what is a girl? How can she ever trust a man if she didn't have a father there teaching her what men can provide? We give stability, we give clarity, we have groundedness, we care, we can be selfless. You can depend on us, not for perfection, but the basics are there. So when women don't have that experience, they don't have the ability to ask men for help. That's why this reassurance process is so important. Another process is I call it genie in the bottle, which is, you have your wife and you say, okay, twice a week for 5 minutes, maybe sometimes we'll get up to 10. So it depends on how long you can last in this process, but 5 minutes. And during this time, she can't do anything for herself, and you do things for her that she asks you to do. You do nothing for her unless she asks. So she says, okay, would you go over and clean the plates in the kitchen? I'm your genie right away. And you run and you jump to do it. Many couples will just say, would you go get my massage oil? And he says, right away. And he runs. So you have to act fast. And for 5 minutes, you give her a foot massage. But it's not just, would you give me a foot massage? It's, would you take off my right shoe? Would you take off my right sock? Would you now put the lotion on my right foot? Now will you massage the front part? You give lots of instructions. The point is for a woman in a short period of time to be able to ask for what she wants in very specific terms, and a man to immediately respond without any resistance. And he can do that because it's all within 5 minutes, or it's all within 10 minutes. It's not like he feels I'm going to give my whole life up, but it produces a huge polarity of woman needing help, woman asking for help, woman getting help immediately. Emergency man is there. She's the center of the world. She needs that to produce a big dose of estrogen. And then you have the planned dates. You do this every week. You have a conversation with her and say, let's talk about next week what we should do. Tell me some things you'd like to do. And her job is to have already thought of, or at least during that time, for her to figure out 3 things out of the normal, out of the routine, that she would like you to provide for her. Not 3 things that she can provide for you. See, this is polarity. Polarity is the man does for the woman receives. The man takes the lead, but the woman informs. So you have to give him, if you tell him, I want you to take me to Banff, then he's just doing what you said. And she doesn't want to feel the pressure of being responsible for what happens. That helps her to feel more relaxed. So she could say, let's go to Canada, let's go to Texas, let's go to New York, you pick. So either 3 things would make me happy. Now, I can be successful. And then you pick which you prefer out of those 3 things that you want to do that would also make her happy. And so it's a big win-win. And it's big polarity, as opposed to her expecting him to know. And for him just to saying on Friday night, hey, honey, what do you want to do? It gives her a chance a week to anticipate and look forward to this event that he's going to lead, he's going to provide, she's going to appreciate, she's going to enjoy. And if she doesn't enjoy it, don't talk about it. Focus on what the good is. This is these moments where he can feel successful as a man, she can feel successful as a woman, that look what I have in my life. Because see, the true female empowerment is not becoming a man. The true female empowerment is getting men to do stuff for you. You have a choice. Do you want to go around doing things for other people, or how would you like everybody to do for you? Now, certainly those are 2 extremes, but the female power is the ability to have people do things for you, to give you what you need. And the male power is the ability to give others what they need. And what we want is to find a balance inside of us, which is, ironically, if you just look at the natural progression of the ages, teenagers, you learn to be a boy, she learns to be a girl. 20s, now you're going to be more independent, self-sufficient. You're going to learn to educate what you can do to make yourself happy, to love yourself, to know who you are more. Then once you know who you are, now to share who you are with somebody else. And that's intimacy. Whereas she's going to be her, I'm going to be me, but now I'm going to learn to connect with and relate to being female, and she's going to learn to appreciate and relate to the male inside of her. Then you have male, female, now you make a baby. And so that's the next level of maturity and development, where you basically it's not so much a transaction, I'm going to give you what you need, you're going to give me what I need. It's I'm going to give unconditional love to my child. So that's a higher state of consciousness that you can have when somebody's dependent on you and you're not dependent on them. That's what a parent to a child is. It's a very important aspect. It allows a woman to be on her male side, which is giving, but she's also receiving because she's got a husband who's giving to her. And she also has a child who's depending on her, who is also giving her unconditional love. And so this is why it's a great fortune and blessing for a woman to have a man take care of her when she's pregnant and has a baby and has children, so she doesn't have to be the man and raise the children at the same time. Should be our North Star. This should be where we're shooting for. We're never going to have it perfect, but just to know this should be our ideal. And today it's not seen as an ideal. Today it's just seen as a choice. Well, if you if you can't make money, that you can live a simple life, but not everybody's going to make so much money. Not everybody's willing to do what it takes to make so much money. I mean, I look at some of these guys that make so much money, how much they sacrifice in terms of spending time with their children, time with their wives, time with their health. You make a lot of sacrifices if you're just going to achieve one thing. So it's having that balanced life. But particularly in your 20s, you can be a workaholic. But in your 30s, you need to, okay, I can do this, but now let me learn this relationship stuff. And then let me learn this family stuff. And then when you have that foundation, then you can go out in the world and you create businesses which are win-win. It's not just about me, but you truly want to be helping others as you help yourself. These are all stages of maturity. And I write about this in my book, How to Get What You Want What You Have. And then as you get older, you have you realize, okay, I've got all these things. Then what's your mission and purpose is, higher self. I'm here to serve God. So it's not so much yourself anymore, but it's all those other things simultaneous. So I'm going to finish because you can see if you keep nodding your head, I'll keep talking. But I have to
it's been awesome, John. It's
like a little seminar for the guys. Okay, so here's to think about. If you go, it's some of this entertainment at some of these places. They have this Chinese entertainment where they spin plates. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah,
they'll spin one plate and then spin another plate. Then they got to go back and spin the first one and the second one, and then the third one. Then they go to the fourth one. And the whole idea is to get all 10 plates spinning at the same time. So you got to keep going back to spin the other ones because they're going to stop spinning. So as a married man, for example, I need to be spinning that plate of romantic love and relationship, give and take relationship. But there's the stage before that is self-love. I've got to keep that one going. Because if I don't love myself, then I'm going to be too dependent on my partner for it to feel good. And then I'm loving myself and my relationship. But before that's my teenage Scott, who's always trying to learn new things, what it is to be me, educate, have mentors and so forth. So I got to spin that plate. And then there's another plate, which is more like childhood, is having fun, and just being in that state of innocence where life is, you don't know what the problems are. It's so beautiful. And that's another plate. We need to have fun in our lives, not serious. And then all the way back to like early childhood where you're completely dependent on someone for something. That's why I think we all need to have people in our lives, at least through books or videos or whatever, who are smarter than us or have certain abilities that we want to accomplish and achieve. And it's not one person for everybody. Everybody's got who they resonate with, and you learn one thing. But then the real big one is go back to the most important relationship is when you were in the womb. Everything was done for you. Everything is done for you. And that's your spiritual relationship, is to have a relationship with the universe that knows you're not alone and that things are happening always for your benefit, even if it doesn't look that way. What a great way to look at life.
Powerful.
All right, so I really enjoy having this conversation. Yeah.
John, it's been truly amazing. Like I said, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. It's a top 10 book in my collection, and I think everyone should either check out that book and also Beyond Mars and Venus, whether it's hard copy, Kindle, or on audio. Like it's one of the big things in there. You talk about that it's okay when a man comes home from work he needs time out, and that time out looks like going to his cave. And that blew my mind. And I think everyone should get around and really apply and try, your strategies and tools in there and just to see how quickly it can shift in their relationships for the better, whether it's female or male. Like I said, I think it's something everyone needs.
A fun story is that when Men from Mars came out, I was going on one of my first tours was to Australia, and people were, oh, will they accept your ideas? I said, totally, they're going to love my ideas. They already have this idea. Every man has his shed.
Yeah, the cave.
That's his cave. It's his shed, whatever, and women don't take it personally when he goes there because it was accepted. So that's the idea. Now we have to give men permission to go to their cave. I mean, we're so indoctrinated by these crazy ideas. that, there's some relationship experts who say, oh, you should always be attentive to your wife and always be focusing on her, whatever she wants to. It's like, no, you need to have time away so you can miss her and have time together. It's that pulling away, coming back together. Such good ideas.
Again, John, it was such an honor to have you on. And like I said, where can everyone be best to find you?
Well, they probably should listen to this tape 3 or 4 times, but
Yep.
but I am available at marsvenus.com.
Yep.
And if you're ever in the Bay Area of San Francisco, every few months I teach a nice weekend class with people, singles, couples, everybody comes. It's a nice life experience. You can find out about that at marsvenus.com. And then we have online courses you can buy. Some of them are free, lots and lots of free stuff. But one that you pay a little money for is Secrets of Great Sex. It's really fun to listen to with your partner. Another one is for women only called Understanding Men. And I suggest if you're a couple that she takes the course, but he also listens in, because there's a lot. It's revealing to a man to realize what women don't understand about us. See, that's also helpful to understand your partner better. So lots of good tips. And that's a 6-week class for women only. Then there's another one for women only called You Time, Me Time, We Time course. Is how to get your me time. It's, again, a lot about the early years when we were developing all this hormonal information. My daughter and we created that course. So much information on there at marsvenus.com.
Awesome. Again, it's been an honor, John, and thanks for your value and your wisdom today.
I enjoyed it very much.
Thanks again, John. Thank you for listening to or watching another episode of Unlocked From Within. Please subscribe and like the episode. Please comment and share what insights you got from the interview or how Dr. John Gray has improved your life and relationships. Please share this episode with someone you think it may help. If you'd like to follow more of John Gray's work, you can check him out on YouTube, which is John Gray Mars Venus, Facebook, John Gray Mars Venus, Twitter, Mars Venus, Instagram, John Gray Mars Venus _official, LinkedIn, John Gray PhD. Or if you'd like to get his world famous and best-selling books, Beyond Mars and Venus, you can get that on Amazon, which is available as a hard copy, ebook, or Audible version. If you'd like to learn more about John, check out his website, which is marsvenus.com. And for our listeners today, John has given us a gift of one of his workshops, which is how to get everything you want in relationships for women, men, couples, and singles. And you can get that at marsvenus.com/gift. If you'd love to reach out to me for my next workshops, corporate events, or would like to experience a one-on-one Unlocked From Within session to remove and clear any limiting beliefs or subconscious blockages, please contact me at martyclay.com. Again, thanks again for listening to Unlocked From Within.